Hello, hello. I'm happy to see you. I am actually recording in a pretty relaxed manner today because I don't usually work on the weekend, but I feel like this is a great time to actually talk to you for a little bit longer. I've got my cup of tea, I've got a candle, and I've got some notes because I want to make sure I don't skip anything. And the reason that I've decided to record this is that I think right now we're living in times where things move very quickly. And that is a great thing if you are someone who is used to moving quickly yourself. If you are a high achiever who has been, performing at your absolute peak for a number of years, if not decades, a lot of us have been through something the last couple of years that can look similar to burnout or just feel as if it's no longer worth to do it the way that you've done it in the past, and where you may have actually actively cultivated more mindfulness around how quickly you do things and do they have to be so rushed, and isn't there a beauty in slowing down, and this whole idea of slowing down to speed up may have resonated with you. And so if you have actually been removing yourself from this fast pace and from this pressure of constantly deliver, and you have been successful, or maybe you're on the way of being successful, you feel deep down that it's just around the corner of actually centering yourself more within yourself and not so much running around like a headless chicken trying to please whatever authority you feel like you need to get on your side in order to advance. And now it may almost seem like that was the wrong direction because things are moving. Things are moving quite quickly. We see it on a global political scale, but we also see it on a smaller scale where some people move and some people don't. And the people who do not move are at the mercy of those who do. Naturally, neither you nor I want to be the people at the mercy of other people because we like to be in charge of our own lives, of our own destinies, the destiny of our own impact in this world. And so it is a really important time, and I think a really potent time to fuse those two sides of ourselves into one right now, right? So you've got the high achiever self down that I'm sure got you through a lot of your childhood and got you your degrees and set you up for a great career. And maybe on paper, you've got everything you ever wanted, mainly through this high achiever in you that is just very good at eyes on the prize. We're going to get there no matter what. And once I'm there, I'm going to get to, slow down, enjoy life. There's that part of us. And you may have outgrown it, or you may be really aware that that is not serving you as your only way of being. So, what you may have done is actually cultivated this other side a bit more that is more living in the moment, going with the flow, being with what's there, not tying your self-worth to your output, and kind of disconnecting from the hustle and bustle of a lot of the Western cities and this whole idea of faster, better, stronger. So that is a great step in terms of actually excelling blissfully because it's moving away from excellence no matter what the cost is to more bliss. But what you want to do, and what this year I think is predestined to actually achieve, is to bring these two sides together. Because what often happens is if we've been leaning towards this achieving side for very long, we may be sick and tired of some of the consequences of that lifestyle. Your health may have suffered, your personal relationships may have suffered, you may have little time for friends, you may have neglected your love life in very many different ways, or maybe your hobbies, or you may just feel like you're just constantly going for the next thing and you're not quite sure when that sweet moment of actually relaxing and doing nothing at all will ever arrive. When we've been here for a long time, we tend to quite drastically shift ourselves in the other direction. Sometimes this is induced through an external circumstance that we feel we have little power over. So this might be if for some reason your career trajectory didn't turn out to be what you thought it would be, and you're just reevaluating, you're taking stock, and you're like, I'm here where maybe I always wanted to be, but it doesn't feel how I thought it would feel, or it isn't what I thought it would be, or is this it? Like I've worked my ass off. And like for this, that could be something that triggers this. If a personal relationship breaks down, if, for instance, a marriage doesn't come through or fall apart, or there's some sort of betrayal in a relationship, or you just are no longer sure of what you've set up your life to be, whether this is with or without one or even multiple partners, if that's still right. And it also very often is a health situation that just catapults you out of your normal rut and that forces you to pause and to take stock. That shifts us over here, where all of a sudden we are like, I don't care about being the most impressive person in the room anymore. I don't want to be going on yet another fancy trip just to be, worldly and traveled and having business deals that require me to leave my normal home base. I don't want to go to those parties. I don't want to go to after work drinks. I have no interest in being in the latest hip place just to show my face. If that kind of drastically loses its appeal, and you might not even want to work at all, and maybe like opening emails is like, what's the point? And you're just really questioning things. It puts you here almost to rebalance the scale, but you don't want to stay here because if you stay here at some point, it's going to clash so fundamentally with some of your deep held beliefs that it is not a comfortable place to be. You will start to feel like a failure in this space, or you will start to eye other people around you that still achieve and that still also manage to have fun somehow. You start to eye them with suspicion or with outright skepticism, or maybe even some sort of negative judgment, because a part of you is not being met here and is not actually allowed to flourish. That part's still over here, but you don't want to go all the way over here, right? So what we can do right now is finding the place here and actually coupling the strength, the skills that you have and that you have cultivated in the high achiever space together with the awareness of what truly matters, simple pleasures, joy of being in the moment, understanding a bigger purpose of things and why it is worth to actually do things and when it is wise to not do things, and bring those together. That's the essence of what I'm describing when I talk about excelling blissfully. It's this idea that we are still absolutely going for excellence. We're not laying down forever, lazy, lounging until life withers away in front of our eyes. That is not an appealing image, at least to me. If it is to you, go for it. But I don't think so, because I think otherwise you wouldn't have listened for so long. So if excellence is still something that we actively want to promote, not from a place of I need to excel in order to be loved or in order to be worth anything in this world or to get the approval, the appreciation, the respect of the people around me, you've probably got a lot of that over here already. It's more about actually understanding that if you are gifted, if you are very talented, if you have honed in a skill, if you have put in more than 10,000 hours at this point, on some estimates, into really becoming excellent at something, why on earth would you not want to see where you can take that? And why wouldn't you want to see how that contributes to the world and what a difference you can make? I think one of the most fulfilling things we can do is actually understand that on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we can advance to the stage of self-actualization. And that's when it becomes an innate desire to actually look at lifting others in their pyramid of needs and looking at how you can best do that. So when you're shifting your mindset into service, rather than trying to get something from other people, rather than having to individually achieve something so that you are no longer the victim of people not taking you seriously or not giving you the love or appreciation that you feel like you should have, but you're rather thinking about like, I've got all this power and I've got all these skills and I have an innate desire to share that with the world and to actually see the impact and to actually use what I've worked so hard towards for the greater good. That is a beautiful place to strive for excellence from, because it's no longer just about you. It's actually about how can I use what I've got to make a bigger impact. That completely shifts the game. And it completely elevates you out of a lot of the problems that are over here. It doesn't really solve all of them, because as soon as you are seeing yourself as part of a bigger mission and as part of something that actually matters for other people, it is quite easy to make that turn you into a sort of martyr where you are struggling and suffering. I know I've worked with a number of ER surgeons and doctors, and it's a very real scenario in that sense, where you really sometimes do have to go over your boundaries to literally save somebody's life. So there are exceptions, and I think those are worth to talk about separately. But in many situations, what we can slide into with that mindset is over giving and actually depleting our own resources. And before we know it, we're tipping back into old patterns, but we now feel like we can't get out of it for moral reasons because we're no longer just doing it for ourselves. So we want to be mindful of not falling over there with that mindset. And the reason why I think the bliss part is so important is because it holds us upright in the middle. The bliss is really about the joy of things and understanding that you're not doing work as a means to an end, but doing the work is already the purposeful thing that you're doing, and that there's joy in that, even in mundane tasks, even if things like doing your taxes or doing some chores in the house or life admin that seem completely unrelated to your professional pursuits, even if they are dull and boring and tedious, and you might be hanging out on the phone trying to talk to someone, and there's this kind of loop that keeps playing that says you're number 7 in the queue, and then at the very end you don't even reach anyone and you think all of that was in vain, right? Even the stuff that is inherently unpleasurable, can you see the joy in it? Can you find a way to make meaning out of it? And can you actually see that as part of a bigger picture? So this is the way of handling demotivation, desire to procrastinate, frustration with processes not being efficient. There's a lot I could talk about on that front. Can you lean into bliss there? And I think this is more important actually. We underestimate how important this is. Can I actually see what is there that I absolutely love? And can I allow myself to love it and to appreciate it and to revel in it and to really frolic through the meadow, like leaping for joy and really, really, really letting that permeate every cell of my body? Most of us, and if you're listening to this, I'm pretty sure you'll have some sort of reaction that is a bit of like, okay, now she's going a little in a funky direction. This seems nuts to me. It's because we're so deeply afraid of what it means to be joyful, how we are perceived, how we actually think of ourselves if we're given to childish endeavors, and that it will jeopardize anything that we're achieving over here. That is also not true. Now, the joy is coupling those two extremes to bring them in the middle and add speed. And the speed is really, really, really important this year and going forward, because the way we're doing things is shifting, and it is shifting rapidly. And as I said earlier, if you've been here and you've shifted over here, when I'm telling you speed is of the essence, it makes you likely not want to listen anymore, because we don't want speed. We want to think more about these slowing down ideas. And you might be on social media following some people that just sit around in a room and there's sunlight flooding in and there's children walking around and animals, and maybe they have a little farm and they have the flowers, and it seems so wholesome and it seems so peaceful. And that is not by accident that we are yearning for this type of life. There have been a lot of things happening over the last 8-9 years in particular that make it more attractive to us in the short run to isolate ourselves from the rest of the world and to actually withdraw and create a little bubble of safety, of peace, of harmony, of a miniature life of what we would like the world to be like, but we feel so powerless to achieve that on a global level that we sort of opt for or make do with this illusion small version of it that we can create where we do have the power. Now, I'm all for making your living space a beautiful one and having the children, having the animals and the flowers, and I'm a very big proponent of that. If it is not bypassing actual issues, and if it is not just a coping mechanism rather than a conscious choice. Because what I see often, and I see this at very high level, there are a lot of people in the self-development space that have cultivated high levels of personal power, of professional success, financial stability, personal freedom, but they might choose to use that to just isolate themselves and buy some property in Costa Rica and just call it a day, or hang out in Bali or Vietnam with the other spiritual people that do well in business. and decide to meditate all day and say that that is the contribution to world peace because they're sending out these frequencies and that makes everybody so much happier and so much better. There is some truth to those things. I do believe in a lot of it, but it's used as an excuse to actually not take action and to just remove yourself and have a distance to real life and real challenges that are going on, that we do see happening, that you can see in your own neighborhood. If you just walk the street down consciously and you're looking around, you will see places where you could improve that very street that you're walking on. So I don't believe it is helpful to create a bubble of protection, essentially, where we can say, everything's great here, I love it here, everything's pretty, I'm watching my nostalgic TV shows from back in the 90s and I feel wholesome. That is a coping mechanism. That can be vital, that can be helpful. If we have been here for a long time, we might need to be over here quite forcefully, and we might actually have to block out challenges to just collect ourselves. But when you are here and you have done that work, I really ask you to ask yourself if it's not time to actually rise and to actually start doing things again and to take responsibility for more than just yourself. We have had so much talk about self-care and putting yourself first and not being a people pleaser and saying no and standing up for our needs and desires and communicating our boundaries. All of that is very important, and it's not the end of the road. From that place, what do you do with those skills? What do you do with that strength? Where are you going to take this? And if you are like me, and if you are a high achiever, you're actually not going to feel fulfilled just huddling up in a corner all day long, feeling cozy, but knowing that stuff is going on that you are not participating in and that you're not actually rising up to meet the challenges and doing your part and actually making a difference. So if all of that resonates, some of it might not, so just chuck it away. But if all of that resonates, I think the biggest question most of us have is, how do I feel like the speed that is around us, the news cycles are crazy fast, decision making is becoming crazy fast for people that want to succeed and build on their success. How can I engineer my mind, but also my body? The nervous system is all over the body. There's actually 80% of information coming from the body to the brain, not from the brain to the body. It's one of those misconceptions that this is the command control. It's only partially true. So how can we engineer the neural networks that we do have and the way that our nervous system operates so that speed is not scary, so that speed is actually something we welcome, we embrace? You want to picture yourself like opening your arms and being like, bring it, I'm ready for this, right? How can you get to that place? There are many different answers, and I'm sure different people have different takes on this. What I personally have seen is to become really good at balancing and at really creating a sort of rhythm where you are going into the achiever, you're going out of the achiever into the bliss, you're going into the excellence, you're going into the rest, you're going back and forth in a way that isn't extreme. Most high achievers, myself included, we start doing this in a pretty extreme fashion. It's called the boom bust cycle. You can look that up. You might already be familiar with it, where you tend to go too high too quickly, so you cannot sustain it, and then you crash, and then you're feeling powerless and you're feeling bad and guilty and ashamed for being down here, and then you start the whole thing all over because while you're down here, work accumulates, there's a mountain of tasks, you feel behind, you feel kind of useless. So as soon as you are able, you're going full throttle through the roof to then just whoop, be right back down, right? So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is that create an oscillating rhythm of expansion, contraction, of moving out, of moving inwards, of taking action, of reflection. And that is something that is very unique to you. So I could give you my secret recipe and my strategy for doing that, but that would actually do very little in order to get your peak performance and your full potential unleashed, because you are different from me. And I might also have a different rhythm right now than I might do in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, 3 decades. So we cannot use a cookie cutter approach for this. We actually have to be mindful of our individual differences and of our changing circumstances. A lot of the things that you can buy online in terms of becoming better at whatever you want to become better at are too simplistic. Our whole world is trying so hard to hold on to simplicity because it makes us feel safe and secure, when we actually are complex creatures, and that is a wonderful thing. And there is a lot of nuance to be explored. So you want to actually learn the tools that allow you to custom build your own way of really finding a rhythm. That is essentially like the breath. The breath is just there, right? If it wasn't, you and I wouldn't be communicating right now. So we can be thankful for that little gratitude moment for our breath. And it's also something that we need to go in both directions. We need to breathe in, we need to breathe out. Sometimes we do it quickly if we're running, if we're excited, if we're nervous. Sometimes we're doing it slowly when we're sleeping, when we're really inhaling and exhaling with purpose, when we're meditating. So there is a way for us to actually control the breath, and it's most powerful when we don't, and when we have just fine-tuned our breathing so that on its own, automatically, without any sort of conscious consideration, it breathes in a way that actually serves us best. Full body, all the way into the belly, full expansion of the lungs, not just moving the chest out, but actually moving your whole torso, and not just out, but also back and to the side. So 360 expansion that happens. And when you're exhaling, you're coming back to your core, you're coming back to your center, you're actually reconnecting with yourself. That is, I think, the easiest metaphor to keep in mind for going out, excelling, becoming big, making moves, really going for it, stretching yourself quite literally, and then automatically returning into the core, into the stillness, into our power, where we don't have to do anything to be worthy, where we don't have to achieve anything to be loved. And then naturally from that place, we want to expand again. So what I would recommend is to really start focusing on, where am I right now? Am I over here? Am I over here? Is where I am where I'm meant to be right now? Am I over here, although I know I should be over there? Or am I still over here when I know it's time to move over here? That is the first thing. Where am I? And is this where I'm meant to be? The second thing is then, how far along in this am I? So am I like all the way on the ground, wrapped up in a blanket? I haven't showered in days and I find it hard to move, versus I'm taking a little break. I'm having a lovely beverage. I'm looking outside. There's birds chirping. What a wonderful moment of rest. Versus here, I'm actually in the flow. I'm working. I'm having a great time. I'm productive. And I'm feeling good in my body, and I actually haven't overdone it yet. Versus I have worked so hard. I've pulled all-nighters. I have had energy drinks. I don't know what you guys are doing. And haven't really gotten up in hours. I haven't even noticed I need to go to the bathroom. When did I last have a sip of water? I'm also hungry. What day is it? This needs to get done now, right? So there's extremes, and there's sort of happy places where we can go doop, 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 versus the energy it takes to go whoop. That actually is higher energy expenditure. That's the second step. So understanding how far are you in it. And then the third thing that is very easy to do is to just really connect that to the breath and actually notice, how am I breathing over here? And can I now use the breath intentionally to mimic what I want to create externally with this oscillation? So can I bring in some calmness? Can I activate the breath? If you're all the way over here, can you actually use a breath of fire? Can you use, there's all sorts of breath work that I could talk to you about as well, to activate myself, to activate the more yang energy, to be more in my power, to actually feel that I'm moving towards action mode. You can intentionally bring yourself back into action through the breath. Or is it time to move more the other way and actually slow down and deepen the breath and find more stillness and find less need to go places, do things, and just actually be with what is? Those are the three easiest things that you can do. You can do them right now. If you want to do any of these things in more depth, I really feel very passionately about helping other people to excel blissfully, because I know what kind of tension it has created in my life to feel like I should be here, but I'm here, or I should be here, but I'm there. And the energy it takes to move back and forth from one extreme to the other, and the sort of internal mind chatter that can come with that, and the pressure to make it look a certain way to the outside when maybe inside we don't feel that way at all. I know that intimately, and I also intimately know this deep, I don't even quite know how to call it, this deep calling to do something in this world that really makes a difference, and to really give it your all without giving yourself up. And that is something I do not want us to kill. And this is something I do not want us to deny or to pretend isn't there or to make it seem like it's a ridiculous thing to feel. If you do feel called to make big things happen and you have already and you're wanting more, and there's people around you that might say, why are you not satisfied yet? And you can be proud, and why don't you just lean back and let it be? But you're like, there is something in me that knows that this is important and I do have something to give and I do want to make sure I give it in a way that does not leave me depleted, but on the contrary, that leaves me deeply fulfilled. If that's you and you would like to actually work with me one-on-one, do let me know. I am booked out for a while, but I have space on the 1st of April to start taking new people. So if that is you, reach out. Let me know what you'd like to be working on specifically with regards to excelling blissfully. Tell me what your vision is, and then we can hop on the phone and have a conversation about whether that makes sense. If not, that is totally fine. Do pay attention to where you are. Is that where you're meant to be? How deeply in it are you already? And use the breath as a tool to just shift your mindset around this and like activate your consciousness. That is all you need to do, because just becoming aware of it will already trigger deep down in your subconscious. Your brain has to do nothing at all. It will trigger an awareness of something isn't quite how I want it to be. And your subconscious is going to try to find solutions. A little bit of a caveat to that is that often our subconscious is like a little child. So it might be a 5-year-old solution or a 7-year-old solution. You might want to watch what solutions your subconscious is coming up with and then carefully guide it. There is a risk that the subconscious comes up with solutions that seem very smart to a toddler or to a young child, but as an adult, you can see how you might run into some issues at some point. But again, becoming aware of that is the very first step to then making a sustainable change that really allows you to excel and really exceed your expectations even further, while having those moments of being absolutely fulfilled already, where there's no need to do anything else, and also having the bliss while you're working, right? So not making it I either work or I'm happy, but I am happy working, that kind of feeling, and really letting your mission shine and come to fruition and making the difference that I know you long to make. We need people to take responsibility, and we need people to rise up in their power, and we need people to actually dedicate themselves and to commit themselves to a cause in a way that is not causing you to sacrifice yourself. I don't see a lot of points in sacrificing yourself with your level of skill, expertise, and ability. I see more of a point of using that in a way that allows you to excel, that allows you to feel bliss, and that allows you to see the impact that you're having in this world. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I want to talk to you very soon in the future. Goodbye.